Welcome back. Time to learn something. A recent swarm of earthquakes, and yes, it is called a swarm of earthquakes, has put new pressure on a California fault line that's been quiet for 500 years. Now scientists are warning the Garlock Fault could produce a quake big enough to be felt all the way from L.A. up to the Bay Area. Claudia Cowan live in our West Coast newsroom with more on exactly what a swarm of earthquakes is. Hi, Claudia.
Right, Leland. Good morning. As if the San Andreas and Hayward faults weren't enough to worry about, now we have the Garlock Fault, which has been pretty quiet for the last 500 years, but is slowly beginning to move and has been linked to, as we said, a swarm of temblors that hammered Southern California's Mojave Desert last July. The so-called Ridgequest sequence included a 6.4 shock, followed the next day by a 7.1 earthquake, and more than 100,000 aftershocks since then. According to a study out of Caltech, that seismic activity involved ruptures on a web of interconnected faults from the San Andreas Fault to Death Valley, more than 24 faults, many previously unknown.
In total, it's probably almost about 200 miles long. So if this whole fault was to go, it could produce a magnitude 8 earthquake.
And Ross says that's big enough to cause damage in the Bay Area and Los Angeles, with longer and more intense shaking that could destabilize other faults long overdue for a catastrophic earthquake. While California Governor Gavin Newsom recently announced an early warning system app that can send an alert within seconds of the ground shaking, there is still no way to predict when or where a quake will strike. Instead, seismologists say every new quake teaches new lessons about the physics of land movement. And the takeaway from this recent round of shaking, the process of an earthquake rupturing other faults is more complicated and happens more frequently than scientists previously thought. And of course, Leland, they add, the big one is still coming.
Yeah, and some questions about the earthquake warning system if and when the big one does come. Claudia, thank you.